Welcome to the Post Racing Podcast with Ron Robinson and Sean Travass. Post Racing, the site for winners.
Good afternoon, Sean. I wasn't expecting to do this one, but here we are.
Well, I insisted, Ron. You can't. What you have to do is you told us. No, I think it's when we can. It's good to get into a bit of a swing so people get used to listening to us. I know.
Yeah.
I'm the one who calls it off more often than you do, and I'll confess to that fact. But when we can, we might as well. Though
you've got to earn a penny, haven't you?
earn a crust. Yeah. No, it's a strange one this week. We've got lots to talk about, but the racing's different because obviously we're not covering Goodwood. That's covered elsewhere. So and someone's at your door, Ollie.
Somebody at the door.
Okay, I shall hover. Carry on, I'll wait here.
Don't worry, I'm not going.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, where were we?
We're still here.
So, what are you saying?
I was saying, when we've got the opportunity to do a podcast, we will. I think we're not covering Goodwood, as we said, because that's covered elsewhere. But there's still other racing to talk about, and there's equally lots of conversation pieces that we like to start off by having a bit of a rant and a miserable old person. There's usually the rude word there. 3 letters rhymes with hit. Yeah. Miserable old gits day out. We'll have a moan. What are we going to have a moan about? You pointed out to me what sort of race was the Sky Bet York Stakes last Saturday, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't watching it live, so I've had to go back to the replay, etc. But I do agree with you. But I think since this is your baby, I think you should start this one.
Yeah, well, actually, if you rewind back to last week's podcast, I did say we would see a false pace in that race because there were so few runners. I didn't expect it to be that bad. It's even on TV afterwards. Ed Chamberlain and whoever was on with him, I think it was a couple of others up with him. What a farce of a race that was, they were saying, and they were saying that the last 4 furlongs, it was just like a sprint. I'd love to see the time of the last 4 furlongs of that race compared to the Sky Dash half an hour earlier. Honestly, ridiculous, wasn't it?
Who do you blame?
I don't think there is anybody particular to blame because none of those horses were really front runners. Everybody was looking for somebody else to go and quicken it up a little bit, and everybody was sitting out the back, so to speak, and it just had to develop into what it developed into. Without a proper field size, you are a bit snookered. I say this it's why I don't rate any race of fewer than 6 runners. I know once you start getting down to 5 runners, you're in no man's land. You haven't got a clue how the race is going to be run for a start, and there's just absolutely no point betting these races. I thought Passenger was a banker to win that race in a properly run race. Unfortunately, the horse has got injured and he's out for probably for the rest of this year anyway. But even so, it was basically a 4 furlong sprint in what should have been a 12 furlong race. It was daft.
I'm not going to blame anyone or apportion blame to any individuals because that's not my way. I'm not an armchair jockey, so that's very unfair of me, having never ridden a horse in my life, to even consider criticism. However, as I've written here, our Flailers, who went on to win it, has some really good form over a mile. Yeah. So I've just written, you can imagine Jim Crowley was beaming from ear to ear for the entire.
Oh, but he was. Yeah.
As they went on, going, well, we're not going to make this a test of stone. You're going to turn this into a sprint at the end, and guess who's on board? The one with the speed.
Thank you very much indeed. Yeah.
So I agree there was no natural pace in the race, but if you and I knew that before the race, then all the connections, all the trainers and all the jockeys knew that before the race. That's good. I know no one would have wanted to be the one to be the sacrificial lamb and go screaming off from the front. But they must have all realised that actually they didn't have any chance if it turned into a crawl anyway. No. So at least you gave yourself a chance by potentially taking the bull by the horns and going from the front.
Wouldn't you have loved to have seen somebody like Stevie Cawthon on one that he knew stayed the 12 furlongs and would make the race a 12 furlong race? He'd have gone from the front. He'd have clocked it in his head, and it would have been a proper race.
Stevie the stopwatch.
Yeah, it was exactly was. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'm disappointed that no one really thought I'll have a go. Not saying they would have won that way, but you were playing into your opponent's hands by doing that. No surprise once it went at that pace who the winner was. I don't think Passenger would have won it if he hadn't got him injured either, because it wasn't run to suit him. But it is what it is. But it's one of those things we go, well, will I? This is my big old age talking here. Will I remember what happened in that race when I look at the form in 6 months' time or 9 months' time or whatever it is when the season starts?
You'll see the result.
I'll see the result and go, oh, that was a good win. I won't. There's too much there's never too much information. You can't have too much. But there's only so many hours in the day as well. So I can't pretend that I look at the form and the jockey form and the trainer form and the going and the distance and the times of the races. Now, times of the races is something I don't always look at, to be honest with you.
I would say if I was going to rate a race 100% properly, I would have about 20 to 30 criteria sets.
Yeah,
but I could never, ever apply them to every single horse because I'd still be doing the first race now.
Well,
so what I've done is I've narrowed it down to 11 for the flat and 8 for the jumps.
Yeah.
And I apply that every single race, whatever. And sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. But, if I could apply every single piece of information that I know I need, we'd probably get more winners, but you'd only get about one race.
That's the thing. We're all the same. I mean, we're not covering Google, but was it 28 runners or whatever for the Stewards Cup?
Yeah.
But if you actually wanted to go through all the form in depth of every single horse, going back and back and back and back, because these aren't just 3-year-olds, they're older horses in there, which is really what you should do to perfect it. And you still wouldn't guarantee you find the winner because they're not machines and they don't run on rails. That would take me the best part of a day or two.
Yeah.
To do the one race.
Just the one race, yeah.
It's realistic. So I don't look at the clock, but I won't notice this time next year or whatever. I won't notice that race was won in a time, I don't know, 3 seconds slower than standard or whatever it was. I'm making that up because I'm not looking. But the reality is, because we saw it, it's a race where, quite frankly, you put a line through the form, wouldn't you? That race never took place as far as I'm concerned for the rest of this season. But whether I remember, it's another thing. That was down on my little list of podcast things that I sent to Ron because I get the fun part of giving him things to do sometimes. And I put question 2. When is the going, not the going, part 1, Ascot? Would you like to start on this one?
Yeah, I'll have a go, yeah. Oh, well, I was really interested to hear what Aidan O'Brien was saying before the big race. But he was saying there's no good to firm out there whatsoever. In fact, I'd go as far as to say in places it's soft. And I was thinking to myself, this was by the rail, by the way. Specifically round the rail side, where they'd presumably overwatered. Now, he had 2 pacemakers in that race. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if you know that the ground is wrong in that particular area, why stick to that area? He said after the race, we had no choice. And I'm thinking, but the winner did. So why not move your horse, 3 horses off that rail and your pacemakers so that you're giving your horse a chance to actually go and win his race? Now, I'm not an expert enough to know whether or not Aidan O'Brien was not telling us something he thought we needed to know because he felt it mattered. But one of the pacemakers lost a front shoe and a back shoe, and he was saying that was caused by the ground being tacky. And you look at the time of the race, and it was very, very quick. So was he just making excuses, or was the ground in that particular area poor? Because the winners come wide, come more or less middle, and maybe that has enhanced the time figure for the race. Because the horses that were drawn inside never got a blow in. They all dropped back. So I don't know what to make of it, to be honest with you. I really don't.
I rarely criticise Aidan purely because he has always been, and the journalists out there need to remember this, he has always been pretty straight with us all, and he's always been willing to find time to come and talk to us, which is, I'm not going to name names again, but there are other trainers who might do it under duress, but they don't really want to be there. Aidan's always been fairly straight. Do I think he was correct on this occasion? I don't think it was as fast as they said it was. That's for sure. It's officially recorded as good to firm, and there's a pattern emerging here, as we'll find out in a minute. That was officially down as good to firm. It will be recorded as good to firm forever. No, it wasn't good to firm. Sorry, it wasn't. It looks like it was good. People cleverer than me say have been clocking the times and the times per furlong and all that sort of stuff, which is way beyond my little brain. Say it was good in general, slightly slower on the straight course after they watered Friday night. But therein lies the issue. Why did they water Friday night? It was going to be good. To the best of my knowledge, and I've had that confirmed by other people who feel the same way, good to firm is an acceptable going description. Firm is not. I mean, I know they race on firm. If you can avoid firm, you should, because you're risking injuries to the horses, what they call it, compact injuries. So you're risking that. But good to firm is perfectly acceptable. There was no need and no reason to water ground that would have been good to firm to attempt to get it down to good. It's not necessary, and it's not within the remit for them to do that. Generally speaking, the times for that say it was good ground. I don't think it was good to soft. I think Aidan's exaggeration. I think August Rodin had a bad day.
Yeah, another one. We did predict that could happen, didn't we?
It's not the first. If the real August Rodin turned up, he probably would have won that. I mean, and that's I am speaking through my wallet actually, but on his best form he wins it. There's people saying he doesn't stay a truly run mile and a half. I'm not convinced that's the case either. I think people are scrapping around at the bottom of the bin, trying to find excuses or reasons or whatever. Aidan's head of, or the spokesperson of, I suppose, a massive £1 billion a year industry of the breeding side of Cornwall, and he's not going to turn around and say, actually, August Rodin's nowhere near as good as we thought he was. I would have fallen over in shock if he'd have said anything along those lines, and I wouldn't expect it to, and I don't actually think that's the case either. However, this is anyone old enough other than you and me to remember the story of the little boy who cried wolf. I'm not going to go through the rest of the story because it takes too long. You can't go around telling everyone this is the best horse you've ever had and then wonder why they have a go at you when the horse underperforms. That is what's going to happen continually. It happened with Auguste Rodin more than once. It happened with City of Troy in the 2000 Guineas. You can't say this is the best thing since Pegasus, only slightly faster, and then wonder why you get asked lots and lots of questions when the horse doesn't win a race. That to me is what happened. However, I do think the ground was not as described. I do not think that was good to firm. Don't forget he won as a 2-year-old on heavy. I don't think the ground is an excuse, personally. But that was just part one, because we moved straight on. It's almost like we got this planned, isn't it? Straight on to Glorious Goodwood on Tuesday afternoon. Again,
you can have this one.
I asked. It's the vice versa, as they say. It's the other way around this time around. They recorded it as good going, and it'll sit. The first 5 races will sit forever in history, cast in stone as on good going. Well, in that case, we must have a generation of the best horses the world has ever seen. Is that really possible or not? Now, I am quoting here from my good friend Simon Rowlands, who works for Timeform and is a bit of a whiz on all these times and fractions and per furlong speeding things and stuff that's way beyond me. However, apparently Aomori City won the Vintage Stakes in the fastest time this century. Audience would have clocked the fastest Lennox Stakes ever if they hadn't moved the rails. Not only did Kyprios break the course record in the Goodwood Cup, so did the next 4 home. They all broke the course. They all broke the course record. And Tatterstall is an 87,
ground, wasn't it?
Yeah. But Tatterstall's an 87 rated handicapper. He came within 200ths of a second of matching Batash's Group 1 sprinting course record. Now, you tell me that's good ground. It's not. It's good to firm, possibly even bordering on firm. But I'm not going to pretend that. It's certainly good to firm. It certainly wasn't good. No one's going to persuade me otherwise. No one's going to persuade a lot of people in the industry otherwise either. But my concern, and Ron will back me up on this one because we had a quick chat before we came on here, that sits in the form book forever. Wow, how good must Kyprios be if he broke the course record on good ground? I'm not suggesting it's not a good horse, but it wasn't on good ground. We're all going to be misreading the form book forevermore. How good is Aomori City? Wow, the fastest Vintage Stakes this century, and only on good ground. He must be an absolute. Imagine when he faces good to firm, how fast he'd be then. But that's the thought process. And senile old duffers like me, you won't remember this in a month's time or 2 months when we look at these horses running in other races. We'll potentially look at the stopwatch, the opposite of the ones we were talking about just now, and go, wow, look how good he must be, because they've recorded the going wrong. Now, we all make mistakes. I make hundreds of them. Let's be realistic. But I put my hand up when I made a mistake. That's the difference. And the difference is I don't understand why the race courses and or the form book and or whoever's actually responsible, I need to find that out, won't go, actually looking at those times, it wasn't good ground. Let's go back and change all the results to good to firm for future reference. But they won't. They won't, or they don't, or they can't. I'm not sure which one of those three it is. But it will sit there forever as good ground, and it wasn't. And I don't see why punters who, coincidentally, if there's one good thing come out of affordability checks, it's the fact that punters theoretically are getting a little bit of a listening to these days because they suddenly realise how much money we contribute to the sport. are just being ignored, and they just brush it under the carpet. And next, what's happening tomorrow? Anyway, that's my view on it. You asked me to go first. I've probably gone on for about 10 minutes. What did you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was interested on the very first race yesterday, Approval. Now, when I'm watching the markets and I see a horse like Approval moving so much that I have to ignite it and put a little flame by it because it was strong. And I'm thinking to myself, I wonder what actually happened with the ground, because he's gone in by a neck. And he got a dream run up the rail. He got a very lucky run up the rail. But he's won by a neck at 11-2, landed the gamble, and then they're interviewing Tom Marquand on his way in. And he says to whoever it was who was interviewing him, they've done great with the ground, he said, but they're making a bit of a print up that rail. And I'm thinking, but it's good to firm. So how much water did they put down on that rail side to enable them to make a bit of a print in it? And what did it actually ride? So we're going from one extreme to the other, virtually every other race. It's ridiculous. Like you've just said, we'll be looking at Kyprios's form, that he's broken a course record on genuine good ground. We know it was quicker than that. And now we're looking at Approval has won his race by a neck on good to firm ground. And Tom Marquand's coming in and saying, they are making a bit of a print. So what did it actually ride? You genuinely cannot win. You cannot win.
Again, I'm not a stopwatchy kind of guy. I'm ancient enough to remember, I think I probably mentioned this before, a horse called Golden Fleece, who, to the best of my knowledge, retired unbeaten, including Derby. He only ever did enough to win a race. So he only ever won by half a length or a neck whenever he won. And his times will purely always have been on how fast the others went. It doesn't mean he didn't have the ability to go fast. So I've never been a massive believer in the stopwatch. I am told I need to drag myself kicking and screaming into the 20th century, let alone the 21st. But at my age, I don't think that's going to change particularly. But the stopwatch on this occasion, on this particular argument, if you like, is possibly the only thing that you can use. And the experts can break it down by the furlong, by the 2 furlong, by the overall race time, and say, look, it must have been this ground. I would bow to their superior knowledge of that, whatever they come up with. But the main point is still the same. How fuming would you be if you read the form of a horse that won its last 3 outings, only to find it hadn't actually won a single one of them at all? You think that's a lot? Well, you tell me that's laughable and ridiculous. And why is that? Because because when you read the facts, you expect them to be the facts and accurate. And that's exactly what we're saying about the going. I'm not asking them to. I really don't care whether it's 7.8 or 7.7. I'm old school. I'm quite happy with good to firm, good to soft, etc.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
That's good enough for me.
But it just seems to be happening more and more these days, doesn't it?
It feels that way, and I was shut down in my conversation with the Racecourse Association, who told me I didn't really understand, and the going stick depends where you put it on the course. Again, they do it on a daily basis, or some of them do, some of them don't. And they know a lot better than me. If the going stick isn't an accurate way of giving us the going, do away with it then. Make it official to do away with it and go back to the clerk of the course giving it then. Not
put a bit of wood in.
but that gets the going stick out of the way. Bring his wife out with their stilettos on. That's probably a bit sexist, I suppose. But bring out his stilettos and see how far they go in the ground. Wear them yourself if you want. I don't care. But it's got to be more accurate than it is now. No one ever seems to be taken to task. I guess that's my biggest issue with it. Why has no one taken to task? Why have they not been told they have to explain? Maybe not in public, perhaps just to the BHA. Why did you call it good when the Times say it's good to firm? What went wrong? Let's have a look into it and get it right next time. But no, it's just brushed under the carpet, excuse me, and off we go. Never mind. Come on, let's move on before I get any more. My blood pressure goes up.
Can I just say we just had a nice winner, nice profile winner in the second race.
Ooh,
good one, lead artist. Thank you very much indeed.
Well done. I haven't even seen the result of that yet. Still.
Well, the next topic is Goodwood highlights. Well, that'll be one of them. No, but seriously, the OMS.
Oh,
now, I noticed during Royal Ascot the OMS were on fire, and I thought I've been banging this drum for how many years? Lots of years, and I've been paying specific attention to the OMS over the last 2 days, irrespective of how I've profiled a race or rated a race or whatever. I'm looking at what the markets are saying every single race these days. And if you'd have backed every single over the last 2 days, I've only looked at the last 2 days, you're about 25 points ahead. And
Nice
that's,
work
to
if
me,
you did.
that's the highlight of the week so far. I cannot understand why the markets are being as dominant as they are at the moment in winner finding. If you cannot read the markets, you genuinely are stuffed, you know.
Yeah, do you think, I'm asking Ron this out of the blue, sorry, but do you think in the better races the markets are not easier to read because you do the work to get there, but more accurate because whoever's looking at it goes, well, I know if I assume every other horse in that race is at their peak of condition, because they're going to be, because it's Goodwood, stroke Ascot, stroke York, whatever it may be, and I still think I can beat them, now's the time to go in. Whereas other days it's like, well, I don't know if this one's at his best, he's going to beat mine, but if he's not his best, I'm going to beat his. So maybe we won't have a plunge, but you know everything.
It's right across the class. There was one a couple of weeks ago. It opened up 40-1, came into 18-1, it won a 28-1. Now, why it drifts again after the pips have been squeaked, so to speak, I don't know, but it won. And I am finding generally on a day-to-day basis. And what I'm going to be doing after this season is finished is I'm going to be looking back right through what the market movers have done, especially with regards 3-year-olds. There is something uncanny going on with the 3-year-olds in markets at the moment. It's like shelling peas. It's so easy. I'm half inclined to ask the powers that be to see about this weight for age allowance the 3-year-olds are getting, and then I'm saying to myself, why do you want to sew your pockets up for? Let it be and let it happen, and let's make some money. Because the 3-year-olds at the moment, it's ridiculous. They're winning virtually every race they're going for. There is obviously the odd occasion they don't. But even Vince was looking at the stats a couple of weeks ago now, and he produced some that he's put them up on Facebook. And the criteria set that we used to use when I was working with Aztec Gold on this was 7-1 or lower. And the difference in the results from all 3-year-olds and those 7-1 or lower, staggering. The improvement in strike rate is amazing. You will make money doing that. So I'm looking at a way of not so much cutting back on the number of rated races I do for next season, but concentrating a heck of a lot more on the 3-year-olds, especially once we've got past Royal Ascot. It's happening this time around with Goodwood as well. The 3-year-olds are cleaning up. It's ridiculous. Just have a look at the past results. Any handicap with a 3-year-old in it, go and see how they got on. And there was one that got beaten ahead yesterday. That should have won. He would have won by 2 lengths if he'd got to run 2 furlongs out. He's come second with another 3-year-old sitting in third. And these are highlights I'm taking out of Goodwood. So for next season, prepare to clean up.
Yeah, I wonder. I'm again no expert on the breeding side of things, to the extent I've had a few rows with people about it because they think it's an exact science and I don't agree with them.
No, it's not.
But I wonder if people are deliberately looking at it and going, I wonder if we can breed a horse that will basically, as a 3-year-old, will look like a 4-year-old, if you see what I mean, or physically be the equivalent of a 4-year-old, because they get these weights given to them in all the handicaps. If you've got a 3-year-old who physically is a 4-year-old, if you like, then they're going to clean up, because the only reason they get the allowance is generally speaking, they're smaller. Historically, they're smaller, weaker, and less mature. But that's clearly not the case now, because they're mopping up as they are. So I wonder if it's a deliberate ploy by some people to breed the appropriate horses for that. I don't know. I haven't got time to look into it.
I think I go back years now, and I remember it was Mark Johnston that really first switched the light on in my brain over this. And he said, once we get past Royal Ascot, then these handicaps are fair, what he called fair pickings for the 3-year-olds. And they would deliberately train 3-year-olds to run in handicaps after Royal Ascot, because he knew at that point, because he was a vet, and he knew at that point the development of a 3-year-old is catching up with the older horses. The older horses take till they're around about 5 to become fully mature. And if they're fully mature but only rated 60 or 70, and he's got a 3-year-old that he knows is 70 to 80, then he's going to clean up, isn't he? And other trainers now, they've all latched onto this. They know they're getting £5 allowance, but they're already £5 or £6 better than the older horses anyway. So they're going in. Just look at the results that are being coming up for 3-year-olds. Honestly, seriously, It is ridiculous.
I do fully understand. I think the BHA for once is in a catch-22 here, in that I would be very surprised if they're not fully aware of this.
They will be. Yeah.
However, what do? We've already got issues with smaller fields that everyone's, including me, is bitching about on a daily basis. So what do you do then? Change the rules so you're going to get even smaller fields by making, I don't know, more handicaps that where 3-year-olds aren't allowed to run, for want of an argument. Well, that's not a good look for racing. Full stop, is it? It's like, oh, someone's winning, we better stop them. It's like saying no one can run at Cheltenham if the trainer's name is Mullins or something. You can't do it. You've got to allow an open competition, and doing that without the 3-year-olds having that advantage is difficult. Well, he said that, and I've gone looking at actual horses and things like that, you see, because I'm like that. I was impressed by Audience. I think Rab Havlin gave him a brilliant ride to win on the Tuesday. I thought Kyprios, what can you say? He's probably the best stayer since Yates, would you think?
Oh, at least, yeah.
Big Mojo winning the Molecombe for Mick Appleby. How did he do it?
Do you know what I'd see? That was another one. That was a market move the night before racing.
Yeah. And
I actually put that in the newsletter, the specials newsletter. It was 40-1 into 14-1, I think it was.
Yep.
And I'd seen that move. It basically happened more or less as soon as the market opened.
Yeah.
And then it was
always fancy. He had the third as well. Word is that both as good as Big Ebbs is the general consensus. So good luck to Mick, who's one of the nicest blokes out there. So I'm happy with that. Notable speech, back to his best. Devastating turn of foot to take the Sussex Stakes.
Isn't there another one of these that doesn't seem to be any consistent top class horse at the moment? They'll run one blinder, and then they'll chuck one in. Then they'll run another blinder. And so when it comes to these Group 1 races, and you're thinking, well, he should win, but.
Yeah, but he's only lost once.
The same with notable speech. Pardon?
He's only lost once in his entire career.
I know, but he lost. And he didn't just lose, he got absolutely mullered. Absolutely mullered.
Of all the TV broadcast journalists, I've got a lot of time for Luke Harvey. I think he's a decent bloke as much as anything else. And he was saying before the race that notable speech just didn't look interested or bushy-tailed and bright-eyed sort of thing before Ascot.
Yeah.
And he looked so much back to his best. And he did. To be fair, he didn't say that after the event. He said that before the race.
Oh, I know. I actually heard him say you can actually see the brightness in his eyes today.
Yeah. So I think he just had an off day. I mean, again, we're back to the not machines, aren't we? So Shane Rosalian wasn't there, but I think he would have beaten him anyway. Honest truth. And then the thing that really stood out for me so far this week, and unfortunately it has to end there because he's no longer at Goodwood, and that's just how good is Ryan Moore.
Oh, well,
what a job!
It doesn't matter where he has to ride them from. He could ride them out the back. He can ride them in midfield, stuck in behind 2 or 3, or like he did yesterday on that opera. Whatchamacallit?
Yeah.
He led them a merry dance from the start. Do you know what? When he won in France last year, he got off and told Aidan O'Brien, "We'll come back next year and win the Arc with this one."
Yep.
He's one heck of a judge of a horse. He's one heck of a judge of pace. And what a rider in a finish. There was a couple of times yesterday, he rode 3 winners, and there was at least 2 of them, and I thought, he's going to get collared here. But it's like he'd saved something. Yeah. And he's hung on by a head or a neck or whatever. Absolute genius of a man.
And if you look at the win of Dreamy, who was having her debut.
In
the maiden or whatever it was, you'll have to go a long way before you see a horse that looks greener than her or him. I'm not sure what it was actually. Absolutely green as grass, but no, he still managed to gather it together. Still managed to get up and win late on. Yeah. So he's won from the front. He's won from the back. He's won from his neck win on Jan Bruegel was brilliant jockeyship as well. He's not. How do I put it? I'm not having to pick on Jamie Spencer here, but Jamie Spencer is always known for exaggerated waiting tactics. When he gets it right, that was Harry Ragg for you and I of a certain age. When he gets it right, he's a genius. When he gets it wrong, he's an idiot. And that's what other people say, not coming from me. Ryan doesn't seem to have that. Stevie Cawthon, let's go back to Stevie Cawthon. Fantastic front runner, stop watching his head, etc. Ryan doesn't seem to have a strength or a weakness. All races come the same. Whatever he has to do, he does it. Yeah. Does he win every race? Of course he doesn't. But I get annoyed with the fact that the press, some of them, I put, love him or hate him, and I put in brackets. Why do people hate him, by the way? I know the Aussies don't like him because he can be a bit curt in interviews and stuff, and he was a bit cheeky with Matt Chapman yesterday. But I don't blame him for that. But he's paid to ride horses, not to do TV interviews.
Yeah.
And
but one thing I have noticed that this week, like yesterday, for instance, when he'd ridden the winner, when he was coming back in and he was interviewed, he gave a proper interview. He explained how the race had gone, how he'd gone about winning the race, and blah blah blah. And he was bright as a button. Now I don't know whether he's had an epiphany and thought, you know what, I've really got to get stuck into this side of things. But he did yesterday. There was no grumpiness about him. He was spot on, and he was even referring to Matt Chapman as Matt.
I personally,
I refer to him, but yeah.
No, we can't say that. Can't say that in mixed company. I think it's always been a game for Ryan. I really do. I think he enjoys winding people up. I run into him for 10 minutes on a plane one time, and I suspect he'll be back in Hong Kong to get the Longines Jockey of the Year award and another nice watch to go with his collection. In December, I might run into him there. He's fine. Don't ask him stupid questions, and don't expect to take ages and hours of his time. And he's fine. If you ask him stupid questions and get in his face, he's not so fine. And I think we're all the same. But so far, and it will be my highlight of Goodwood, unless something amazing happens, his jockeyship. Second to none.
Yeah. I said to you, didn't I? I sent you a message yesterday after he'd ridden the third winner. Ryan Moore, different gravy.
Yeah, you did, and I was never going to argue with it. That's for sure.
No.
It's just brilliant. Something slightly light-hearted to finish off. You sent me a text last week about one of your regulars having a
Mr.
double.
Straw, sir. Mr. Straw. Gordon Bennett. What are you? The world's craziest each-way double. Now, last Saturday it was. I'd done all my work, banged it out, and I was sitting here minding my own business. An email comes in. I couldn't resist. £5 each-way double. Sean at 16-1. Ronno at 7-2. And I thought I just took a screenshot and pinged it over to you. And I can only imagine what your face looked like when you saw that.
Surprise.
Then blow me. They both run home second, only beaten by the favourites in those races. And Geoff, you made a profit, mate. Congratulations. I never thought you'd make a profit out of us. Not in that way, anyway.
Mine was the big priced outside, a bit like my life, really. But yeah, no, good luck to him. I sometimes say that to people in the game racing. You've got as much chance by picking a coincidence bet as you have by anything else sometimes.
You have.
But that's our light-hearted story. Which, trust me, every week we spend hours trying to find something positive.
Good news. Good news. Yeah.
What did you send to me the other day? I think you just sent somebody spitting their tea out with laughter when I said, "Have you found anything funny for this weekend?" And yeah, right.
It's a gift of a woman having a cup of tea, and somebody's obviously asked her a stupid question, and she's just gone.
Yep. No, I think I realised where I was coming from there and then. Right, 4 races to go through.
I know.
Not the best, because we're not doing Goodwood, so they're not the best. But I managed to dig around and find something for us.
Yes.
Starting at Newmarket.
Yeah, 240 at Newmarket. It's actually a decent little listed race. Should be, hopefully. Relatively simple to solve. 3-year-olds have won the last 5 runnings of this, and they've won 7 of the last 9. So I'll put my Einstein brain into gear, and I'm going to suggest the 3-year-old's probably going to win it. Obviously, when a 3-year-old wins it, they're carrying less than 9 stone. And looking back historically at the returned SPs of the last 10 winners, it's evident we need to be looking at horses trading 13-2 or shorter. Nothing has actually returned a bigger starting price in the last decade. So I'm looking for a 3-year-old trading shorter than 13-2, and that's the one I want on side. So basically it's one of Fairy Glen or Place of Safety that wins the race tomorrow. Now, the latter does not yet have an official mark, as she's only raced twice. So I'm going to lick my finger, hold it up into the wind, and see which way it's blowing. Now, Fairy Glen's trading favourites at the moment. Now, that ain't good if the 2 from 10 stat for favourites holds up. And the Gosdens, who train Place of Safety, have won this for the last 2 years running, with John, when he had the solo licence, responsible for the winner in 2015 and 2017. Fair to say they target this race.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going for Place of Safety, 2080 at around the current price of 9-2.
I'm not a lot different to you there, to be honest with you. The only fly in the ointment is that Gosden also feels LeMay, if I'm pronouncing that right, who is now the 3-1 favourite from 11-4, with Robert Havlin riding, or Rab Havlin riding. Has to give £10 to the 3-year-olds both the 3-year-olds you mentioned. Has Rab had the choice between the two? I suspect he has. In all honesty, has he got it wrong? Hoping he has, because I've come up with Place of Safety as well. Fairy Glen's the meat in the sandwich now between the two Gosden horses at 7-2 with Place of Safety at 5s. All you breeding experts, you can tell me why I'm looking at a mile and a half here for a horse that stayed on well over a mile and 3 and is a daughter of Knight of Thunder, who's a miler. Someone can explain that one to me. She ran away with a Class 5 novice at Kempton. He ran away, on just his second start. Gets £10 from their elders. They've won 7 of the last 10 runnings. Every renewal since 2019 has gone to a 3-year-old. So I'm with you, Place of Safety. Got to improve, but really did look the sort to have plenty of improvement to come. So, as you say, no rating, so we can't really say how good or bad. Only won a novice event, so this is a big step up in class. Or is a she, not he? What I'm talking about. But yeah, 5-1 looks rock solid to me. Yeah, I even go each way. They didn't get a quarter of the odds. Why not?
Yeah. You could do.
You get a small profit and go for it. So yeah. Place of Safety each way. You've got 2080. I'm doing the similar thing with each way, as is my want. But yeah, I think it's got a chance. But I am very wary of LeMay and Red having the choice. That's the problem. So anyway, that's enough of that race. 4:30 at Thirsk.
Yeah. Do you know what? When I saw this in the list and I checked the status of the race before I started working it, I thought, handicap, lovely. And then I went to start prepping it later on this morning. Not a single previous running of the race. So that's me. Lights out. Good night, Vienna. The only stat that I could look at and take any seriousness of is that relating to trainer form in this particular kind of race previously over the last 10 years. It's worked before this. So I thought, well, I'm going to keep trying to use this. If, for instance, you'd followed Tim Easterby runners over that same period of time and backed every runner in mile handicaps at Thirsk, you've basically done your brains. He's got a level stake loss of £241, 71 pence.
Good blimey.
However, Roger Fell, he's had 62 runners in the last 10 years in such races, 8 winners, and he's turned a level stake profit of 58 quid dead. He's got La Trinidad in this, currently around about the 9-1 mark. And because I can't actually profile a race or do anything else with it, I'm going to put that one up as a 2080. Let's just see how we get on here in 2035 if I'm not in a vase on a mantelpiece by that time.
She'll put you in an egg timer and make sure you keep working, mate.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Yeah, it's a tricky race to solve. I don't disagree with you there. I wasn't overly surprised by your Easterby stats, to be honest with you. Though that means Croy Turn will probably win it by a street now at 14 time. We're looking even more stupid than normal. I'm on the favourite here, Thunder Run. If I can find out what I've done with my work, that is, I'll find it for you. What do we got here? Yeah, Class 2 handicap. Handicap's not my thing. 0 previous runnings, no stats to work with. I do note Empire State of Mind has 2 wins here at the track over the trip. Though he was rated considerably lower than this at the time, so don't get too carried away with that. He needs a career best here. James McHenry's another who could go well. Ed Bethel's got his horses in really good form. I can't oppose Thunder Run on his handicap debut. Second at Wetherby, first time out in June. Son of Knight of Thunder, this time over a very different trip to the last one we mentioned. There you go. There's proof for you. Won both starts since with a 4 1/4 length course and distance success, followed by an ease down win at Hamilton. I'm not going to pretend he's thrown in off a mark of 96. I don't think he is, but I get the feeling that he may be better than a handicapper, and that we may be looking at listed Group 3 or even better than that as the season goes on. Danny Tudhope riding for Carl Burke, I think, right, 15 to 8 favourite, but I don't actually think that's a bad price in all honesty when you look at the recent form of the rest of them in the field. So I'm happy to go with Thunder Run to win. There you go.
And now we're up to Hamilton for the 740. Have we ever covered an evening race before?
I don't know. Whose idea was that? Was it mine? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, do you know what interested me about this race? It's named after Sober.
Oh, cool.
And for those that do not remember the exploits of that brilliant mare, you can always watch back the 1982 Stewards Cup on YouTube. I did before we came on. What a cracking mare she was.
Yes.
Didn't she run up a large sequence of wins or something like that? It was in the day when you probably could do that. They'd never let you do it now. They'd tie your feet together. But I'm pretty much in the same boat as I was with the last race. We've only had one previous running of this, so I can't do anything with it as such. Funny, isn't it, though? Last season, we were working mostly with very soft and heavy ground everywhere. And now this week, they're watering like crazy. And even Bath has found a way of having to put some water down just to keep it safe. Now, there's only 6 bothered to turn up for this race now. And the 2 trainers that I'd actually earmarked as having a level profit, a plus stake profit, were Kevin Ryan and Julie Camacho from the early decks. But they've decided not to bother turning up now. The favourite, and rightly so, is Jordan Electrics, who must have been sipping on the old Lorenzo's oil all season because he's just kept winning and winning and winning. I think since May, he's improved over 20 pounds at the age of 8. Yeah. That means there's hope for me yet. He's actually raced 70 times. He's won or placed in 28 of them, 15 wins. He's had 26 runs at this track. He's won or placed in 16 of them, 8 wins, 50% strike rate. Brilliant. I won't be betting until I finalise my ratings tomorrow because I will run this through the mill.
All right.
But right now, I'll not hesitate in putting him up as a podcast selection. Nothing fancy, nothing other than what I've just said to you now. But when's he going to stop improving at the age of 8?
Yeah, well, if you want to feel old, and I'm sure you don't any more than I do, but never mind. I'm not going to give you much choice in the matter. I just had a quick look at Sober.
Oh, yeah.
He was born in 1970. Don't want to make you feel old or anything like that.
I'm still at school.
The form is not on the Racing Post because it's before they digitised their form book, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many races she won. I can tell you from memory, and I'm open to correction, but I'm pretty certain I'm right that firstly, that when she retired, she wasn't sold, but she was some kind of selling deal with the Sangsters for a half share in her first filly, which I think was or first progeny, sorry, I don't know if it's filly or colt, which I believe might have been a Sadler's Wells. And the other thing I can remember is that she was originally going to be called Sober Sides, Sober, Sober Sides, 2 words, but another horse had already been called that, so they couldn't call her that, so they just called her Sober, SOBA. I don't know what we'll find, but I'm going to be googling it as soon as we finish because I hadn't actually noticed the name of the race, to be honest with you. I'm going to be googling it because she was a cracker, and I believe she was one of those who cost like 800 guineas or something. Oh
yeah, one of those bargain horses. Yeah.
So was she with Chapman? I think might have been with Chapman.
Yeah, it was David Chapman, wasn't it?
I think so. But now we're digging in the brain box. Better get back to the modern day. The 740 at Hamilton. Do I see why you're gone for Jordan Electric? Yeah, of course I do. In fantastic form, course and distance winner, looking for a 4-timer. Really difficult to oppose. The draw's going to make no difference here because we only got 6 runners at the end of the day, which is a shame. I am worried about a potential lack of early pace other than Jordan Electric's. So I think he's going to be forced to make his own run. He's off a new mark of 96. So he's going to need a career best at the age of 8. That's potentially asking quite a lot.
He's needed a career best 2 or 3 times this season, hasn't he?
He has, but I can't see how he can possibly beat Dark Vintage. Can't see it. Can't see it in a million years. 1 win from 8 starts for Dark Vintage. What are you talking about, Sean? You've been drinking again. But let's not forget he was less than 3 lengths behind Big Evs at York in May, and that's a Group 1 win.
Yeah, I know.
And we're now talking about a Class 2 handicap. A weakening fifth over a furlong further at Newmarket last time out. He's been dropped £2 for that. He gets £3 as one of your obligatory 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
So he gets his £3 age allowance as a 3-year-old. He's dropped £2 after weakening over the 6th furlong, which was no great surprise. Beaten less. You tell me, Jordan Electrics will get beaten less than 3 lengths by Big Evs, and I'll be surprised. But that's his best form. Now, whether he can or can't repeat that best form, that's a question for after the race or another day, because who knows? These are horses. But on that form, and the odds I saw yesterday, which had Jordan Electrics as favourite, I've got no odds up at the moment, to be honest with you. Dark Vintage looks the value call, and it'll do for me. I'll make it a win bet. We only got 6 runners. He's either going to run a stinker or he's going to win, as far as I can tell. So Dark Vintage for me, 740 Hamilton.
As you go. And now we're off to sunny Saratoga.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, when I saw this in the list, it put a smile on my face. Well, ish. I know you love your international racing. And to be fair, during the COVID period when we were digging for gold in Australia, remember those days?
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed the research involved. Even if I did fall flat on my backside, because what I came up with was pants. I don't know American tracks. Some of the names are familiar, more often than not for the wrong reasons. And it's one of those names that caught my eye when I first started looking at this. Bob Baffert.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's
great. 8 of the last 10 winners are 4-year-olds. 9 of the last 10 winners carried 8 stone 12. Well, it's a great one. So, nothing unusual there. And Baffert trained the winner of this 2 years running in 2019 and 2020 with 4-year-olds carrying 8 stone 12.
Yep.
And they were both trading short. One of them went off favourite. So his national treasure was going to be my guess until I started doing a bit of digging. He's actually the highest rated thoroughbred in America right now. So maybe not so much of a guess. Whatever wins this actually gets a win and you're into the Breeders' Cup. So you can imagine 1 or 2 will be going for this. Now, as I say, National Treasure, top ranked horse in America, based on wins in the Metropolitan Mile at Saratoga in June and the Pegasus World Cup at Gulfstream. Between those wins, he was 4th in the Saudi Cup, a Grade 1. National Treasure is the leading money winner in this field and only one of 2 Grade 1 winners in the race, and he will most likely go off favourite. If an older horse is going to beat him, it's probably going to be Bright Future. I reckon he'll be about 8-1, 9-1. Now, this horse won the Jockey Club Gold Cup over there last year, and he's one of the few Grade 1 winners in the race tomorrow. I'm going to put up National Treasure, but if you fancy an exacta with Bright Future, be my guest.
I don't know why I let you go first on these things, because I've got to run out of things to say now. Yeah, it's a really big race. The first thing is, when you're talking about American tracks, you're basically talking they're all exactly the same. There's no. Unfortunately, that's something that I struggle sometimes to get out of my head. Is the fact of thinking to yourself, it doesn't matter if it's left-handed or right-handed, or uphill or downhill, or camber or no camber. It's the same. Oh, what is it? Good to soft, heavy yielding. No, it's fast because it's dirt. There are changes to the dirt going, but not like there is here with the turf. So it's not quite that. Skippy Longstocking 8-1 has got a solid each way chance on his best form. This is one invariably. Skippy Longstocking took the Oaklawn handicap, so that's good form, and that's a horse that you could get involved with. This has gone to horses you may or may not have heard of in the past: Frosted, Gunrunner, McKinsey, Nixco, White Barrio was a beaten favourite in Saudi in January. It takes a good one to collect it. It's £433,000, whatever that is in dollars, 500,000 at a guess. So it's going to be a good. Unfortunately, I've come down on Bob Baffert's National Treasure as well. Not sure if I'm a fan of Baffert or not. There's been all sorts of issues going on. As you know, with disqualifications for this, that, and the other, which he puts down to, and perhaps correctly, a lack of detailed recording of various drug administrations to the horses.
Yeah.
Others put it down as, well, that's okay for the first time you get caught doing that. What about the second time, the third time, etc., etc.? You should have learnt your lesson by now. I don't know what the truth is. Even my American colleagues don't know what the truth is. So I certainly not late on that. What you can say is National Treasure was only beaten a nose by Cody's Wish in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Cody's Wish was doubling up, having won it the year before, so that form is obviously rock solid. Won the Pegasus Invitational at Gulfstream in January, took the Grade 1 Metropolitan Handicap here by over 6 lengths last time out, giving weight to most of the field, not all of them, most of them. That looks the best form on offer by a country mile, quite frankly.
Yeah.
If he's at that sort of level, 7-4, which is what I've got him written down as, would actually be quite a bargain. I think he should.
I thought it was a good price.
I think he should be evens maybe in this field, maybe even a fraction odds on. You got Godolphin's First Mission for Brad Cox as well there.
Yeah.
It's hard to see any others really getting involved. I mean, things happen in American racing. They seem to run more in and out there than they do here. Perhaps not at the highest level, to be fair. I cover a lot of the American racing. Or with other people for the Press Association.
Sure.
And there's certainly horses that will win a 25,000 allowance race today and come last in a $5,000 claiming race a week later. So trying to catch them right is not the easiest thing in the world. But really, National Treasure, if he's at his best, is the likeliest winner here. And I chucked that one in just to give you something different to talk about, really. So.
Well, yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I do enjoy actually doing a bit of research on foreign racing. It's fun. Yeah.
I think to expect either you or I to just cover foreign racing is unrealistic, because there's more than, as we've argued many times, there's more than enough racing in the UK.
There is.
Keep us busy, but to try and put us into a coffin early. So trying to cover internationals for fun or as part of a day job is just not really possible. But to do the odd one.
No.
Or when I'm away somewhere to cover that is different, because you want to get your teeth into it because it's something different, but I wouldn't want to do it every day, that's for sure. Anyway, enough waffle. About time you press that button, I believe.
I think it is, Well, no surprise, they were all at Goodwood this week. The first one was a horse I actually put up at Royal Ascot as a profile selection, French Duke. Opened up 13-2, hit 4-1, 10-3. Eased a little bit to 7-2. Won at 16-5. A strange price. Next one, surprise, surprise, a 3-year-old in a handicap. Gambled on. Blueprints. 12-1 into 10-1, and I marked it up in the newsletter as solid. I think it was the only horse at Goodwood on that day that was marked up as solid. He only went and won at 14-1. And the last one, I was riding this in the finish yesterday. Mr. Chaplin, the only arm in the nursery at Goodwood yesterday. 12-1 into 8-1. Eased slightly to 10-1, came with a massive run down the outside and just got up. Winner, 10-1. Yeah, good week that was.
Well, yeah, especially nurseries. I have to say, nurseries are the bane of my life, really, trying to find a handicap.
Well, that'll be why there was only one. That'll be why there was only one mover in that race. Nobody's going to back anything with confidence. But somebody really did fancy that one.
They must have known something, that's for sure. But yeah, well done. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Right. On to something for the weekend. Have we managed to get something out of this lot?
Yeah, I've got. Do you know what? I've got no stats to work with. It's the first time the race has been run. But I like the Roger Fell stat for La Trinidad. I'll put that up as a 2080.
What race is that in again?
That was in the first race at Wobbly Bits, 4:30.
Well, one of us might have the winner then, because mine is Thunder Run in the same race.
Oh, right.
Oh, what do we do now, everybody? Well, I'd follow Ron if I was you.
There's the forecast.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea either. Yeah, I just think he's a listed or group class horse masquerading in a handicap. And if that's correct, then I think he should win. But I can see where you're coming from. And you've also, was yours each way? 2080 was it?
Yeah, 2080. Yeah.
That's all right. You can come second, and I can win, and everybody's happy then.
Everybody's happy then. Hey, I tell you what. What was it Andy said to you last week? I wish I'd done the forecast.
Oh, yeah.
That very first race we discussed.
Yep.
Very nice, wasn't it?
It makes a change, doesn't it? But still.
You know what? He'll do a forecast here and it'll go down.
I'm saying nothing.
Sorry, Andy.
I don't want to talk him into anything he doesn't want to do. You're quite right. No. I think it's a tricky weekend. The majority of the good stuff is at Goodwood, let's be honest.
It is.
It's actually made quite a pleasant change to look somewhere else. I've been the same as Ron. I've been on Goodwood from about last Sunday onwards, basically, starting bright and early, and it's good to sort of file it away under finished for this year. I still don't. I'll probably get banned from Goodwood for saying this, whatever. I still don't understand why it's considered the same as Royal Ascot or the next one down. I don't think it's anywhere near the same class. I really don't.
No. Of all the meetings that I cover for festivals, I would put it last.
Yeah, it's good fun, but I know you like them, but there's way too many handicaps for my liking.
Oh, there is. Yeah.
And
nurseries.
There is. And a couple of maidens thrown in as well. Oh, hang on, this is supposed to be a...
So many, and you got all the nurseries, and
Yeah, it's just not quite the same thing. But it's been good fun, but I won't pretend I'm not glad it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's finished with. I've already written Saturday tomorrow's. So, have a good weekend, everybody. It's now Friday afternoon, 3:06. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Have a few winners at Goodwood. Hopefully we point you in the right direction for something on Saturday. Ron's other things will point you in the correct direction for Goodwood, I'm sure.
Yeah. And, I tell you what, the profiling newsletter's a doozy.
And we'll be back whenever Ron says he's free again. He might need to go lie down in a darkened room after this. I don't know. But,
after this week,
we'll wait and see. Right, have a good one, everybody. I think we can wrap up there.
We'll see you again when we see you again.
Wise words from Ron as usual. Right, okay. Have a good one. We'll be back next week or whatever. Take care.
Soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Post Racing, the site for winners.